Welcome. I'm Carl Frederick, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project of the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I have worked in newspapers for more than 40 years as an editor and a reporter. 38 and a half of those years were at the Kenosha News. I am also a member of the Kenosha County Historical Society Board. We hope you enjoy these programs. I'm speaking with Emily Easter and Adam Powell, owners of Wisconsin Fuel and Heating. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, start with Emily. When did you begin working at Wisconsin Fuel and Heating?
I started just about 6 years ago.
Okay. You had not done anything prior to that?
Prior to that, I had worked for an electrical contractor in Menasha, and then I actually worked for a medical device manufacturer here in Kenosha. It was important to my dad, who was one of the prior owners, for me to get a lot of experience working with other people, for other people, at other companies to learn.
So this was after college?
After college, yep.
Okay, and that was, where did you go to college?
I went to college at UW Green Bay,
And you have a degree in?
business management.
Okay. Adam, when did you start working at the company?
I came here full-time in 2013. I had worked here summer jobs growing up, you know, kind of helping out on install crews and things of that nature. But after I graduated college, I worked a couple of little odds and ends jobs, but essentially came here and kind of started as a service tech and kind of worked my way to where I am now.
Okay, so when you say you started working when you were younger, just what did you do when you were younger?
I was typically the guy hauling the tools up and down the stairs and, you know, doing little odds and ends and, you know, most of the stuff that the experienced leads didn't want to do. So,
Okay.
you know.
And what year was that?
Well, I graduated high school in 2008, so probably 2004 through 2007 or so. I worked summers.
Okay. And what did you graduate in?
I got a degree actually in zoology and economics. I graduated from Madison.
And then you are now the service manager, department manager?
Yeah, technically my title would be director of operations, but yeah, it's kind of morphed into a little bit of everything.
Like the COO?
Yeah, I kind of oversee day to day.
Okay. And your job today, what do you do?
My job involves a lot of the opposite of what he does, so I do a lot of the HR, the accounting, the paperwork, the employee side of things.
So kind of the CFO?
In theory, yep.
Okay, so tell me about the company's founding.
Our great-great-grandpa Ed moved to Kenosha, began working at his Uncle Henry's coal yard doing office work. After his uncle passed away, he actually convinced his dad Joseph to sell his farm in New Munster, move to Kenosha, and purchase a coal yard.
So where was your great-grandfather from? Since he came to Kenosha, I mean, was he living in the county?
Living in the county.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Yep.
He worked with his dad and his two brothers, John and Leon, and that's how Wisconsin Fuel began in 1923.
So in the beginning, they sold coal.
Mm-hmm.
How did they deliver coal?
Horse and buggy.
Could
So-
they carry enough coal in one buggy to deliver to a customer, or did they have to make several trips?
I would have to assume they had to make several trips. And then they would shovel it into the coal chutes, which you still see on the sides of a lot of houses today.
Okay. And then the people, of course, will shovel it on the other end.
Shovel it into their
furnace.
coal burning furnace, and yeah, there you go.
So initially, basically, you just sold fuel, coal.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And when did that start to? Where was it located, by the way?
We were located in Kenosha at 6329 28th Avenue.
Okay. What's there today?
I believe it's last I heard, it's a paramedic.
It was, yeah, a
Yeah.
paramedic
Okay.
ambulance company.
Yeah. Can't remember the
Okay.
name of it.
And how long was the company at that location?
We moved to our new building in
1997, I believe.
Yeah, so
A long time.
97 minus 1923, 68 years.
4,
4. There you go.
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
And where was the coal stored? I mean, is the coal at that site as well, or was the coal somewhere else?
That might be a question I'd have to get some
Yeah.
answers on. I would
Okay.
think it was stored on site.
Okay. And then when you started to move to oil, when did that start?
The push from coal to oil really happened around World War II.
Okay.
So that's, at that point, furnaces were starting to get transitioned over to oil, and I have to assume it was mainly due to efficiencies, accessibility. And at that point, that's when we realized that we need to learn how to start servicing the equipment, because we were missing a major market of.
So after World War II is when the company realized it wasn't just going to be selling coal and oil, it was going to have to start working on the equipment.
Yeah, yep. That's when our grandpa actually went in and learned the aspects of servicing oil burners and the sheet metal aspect that goes around installing the equipment, and our HVAC division was born.
And how did the company grow in terms of its size and its customer base from its coal days to its oil days?
That would be something I think. Did you get numbers?
I don't have concrete numbers.
Okay.
But our customer base has always been pretty large because people eventually transferred. Everyone's always had to heat their homes. So the coal customers became oil customers, the oil customers became gas furnace customers, and
So I assume almost all of your customers are natural gas customers today.
we've still got about 274 oil customers.
And I trust there are no more coal customers.
Not that we're aware of.
Yeah, if there are, we are servicing them. Yeah.
Okay, so when did the company initiate an actual service department? Did that always have something they call a department, or did they specifically start at a certain time to say, we now have this many trained people, we now have this many trucks, we're going to go out and service?
I think in the early days when our grandpa learned how to service and install equipment, it kind of went hand in hand with the service department being created. Back then, there were obviously fewer individuals probably wearing more hats than there are where we're now a little bit more specialized, but I think kind of in conjunction with us learning to install, we were learning to service.
Did he have any background in heating, anything?
Nope, none whatsoever. Extremely resourceful, extremely intelligent.
And did he teach himself how to service, or were there people that taught him?
I don't believe there was anyone internal to the company that taught him. He went elsewhere to develop the skills, and I think he came back and passed those skills on. And I think that's kind of how we've gotten to where we are. We do a lot of internal training.
Okay, so when you started to move to oil, you were still on 28th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Where was the oil?
So we had some big oil tanks there, and actually that burned down at one point. I don't know when
And
it
then
burned down.
and then we've also got, we had an oil bulk plant at 1350 22nd Avenue as well.
Okay.
And that was stationed there because it was near the railroad.
Okay.
So we would get all the oil on the trains. In the winter, they'd actually have to, at least I was told, they'd have to light fires underneath it to warm the oil up to be able to get the oil off the trucks.
So the oil was
So-
pretty thick because of the weather, and
Correct.
was that dangerous to light up the oil,
You would
warm
think
up
so,
the oil?
but you would think so, but diesel isn't as flammable as you think it would be.
Okay.
So it takes quite a bit of energy to get that to actually light.
So tell me about the growth of the company. Now, you mentioned your great-grandfather. Obviously, it went down then to your grandfather, then your father's brother, whatever, that generation. So how's the company changing through those generational years?
Yeah, it started with our great-great-grandpa and our great-grandpa and his two brothers. Then Edward's son, Ron, joined, and that's our grandpa. And then John Altoff, his son-in-law, Kevin Carney, joined the firm. After that, John's other son-in-law, Doug Kester, joined the company. And that was kind of the third generation. And then Kevin Carney's son, Scott Carney, our uncle Scott Altoff, and then my dad, Greg Altoff, were the fourth generation. And we're coming in as the fifth now.
We'll cut that out. Okay, and then tell me how the company is growing. I mean, obviously you probably expanding your customer base, you're selling furnaces. How does the customer size grow? I mean, you could say we have 270 plus oil customers still today.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of them are gas?
You've got about 14,000 active customers today
Okay.
between all of our service areas.
And did the service department expand, and your expanse in terms of where you service expand? Did you grow outwardly as well, or just concentrate in the city? How did?
Yeah, so it's been kind of an organic expansion. So really, I mean, we've always handled Kenosha Racine as our primary marketplace. However, with establishing our new construction contacts and builders, a lot of times they're building out west where the land is, they're building north where the land is. And I think inadvertently, when we go install equipment out there, we start picking up customers in that area. Obviously, we install equipment for a new customer who just built out in the county. We're going to service the equipment. Before you know it, we're in that neighborhood and we're starting to service more and more customers out there. So now we have customers North Illinois, Gurnee, Waukegan area, out to Lake Geneva, up to Muskego, Oak Creek, Franklin area, kind of down. And it's kind of been an organic expansion kind of through new construction.
You mentioned new construction. How much of your company's customer base is residential or existing, and how much is new construction?
I would guess that, I don't have exact numbers, but I would say maybe 25% of our annual work is geared around new builds, and probably about 75% would be what we call add-on replacement, whether it be replacing existing equipment or making modifications in the home along those lines.
You mentioned how the company grew and how family members took on responsibilities, and it sounds as if there are a lot of family people working at the company.
There are.
Yeah.
Within our own family, we've also got the McQuestion family. We've got he's our sales person, and then his daughter works there doing service dispatching. His son has worked there straight out of high school as one of our lead installers. We've got 2 sets of brothers in our install department right now. Very family oriented.
So how many employees do you have then today?
We're at about 38 employees today.
Okay, and how does that divide up in whether or not you have service, whether or not you have office, whether or not you have installers? How does that break down?
We have 8 service techs.
There's about 19 installers.
Yeah, about nine install crews we can throw out there, so 18, 19 people. We have probably 7
We've
people
got
in the office.
8 people in the office, and then we've got 2 full-time drivers as well for our LP and lubricant division.
Okay, and how big is that division, the LP and the lubricant?
Probably 20% of our annual revenue is, maybe a little bit more, maybe 25%.
So are there houses that use propane for heat?
There are. We do not deliver propane.
Okay, so what about LP? What do you do with that?
So LP, as we call it, liquid petroleum, so we're delivering fuel oil either to heat the house. In the summers, we have a pretty large customer base where we're delivering to contractors who, major diesel equipment that's, on big construction sites. We have customers who are doing all the concrete work. We have grading companies that we deliver fuel to. So in the summer, when customers aren't running their furnaces, they're going to be out on construction sites delivering, on-road and off-road diesel to different customers who obviously can't drive their skid steer down the road to a gas station.
So you have tanker trucks in a
Correct.
way. Okay. You mentioned the number of people you have working. How do you find employees? You just call up a family member and say, hey, you need a job? Or
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like that.
Yeah.
A lot of it is word of mouth, just because we've been around for 100 years this year. People see our bright red and blue vans and say, hey, I've always wanted to get into HVAC. They pop in the office. We do have a lot of family members of other employees that come in and want to get into the trades.
do you find when people apply for a job, they already have experience, or you train people, or they come from some program that gave them that experience?
I would say we've hired all different backgrounds. We've never been scared to bring someone in who's completely green with no experience, as long as they bring in the right attitude. We're always willing to, teach them a trade, teach them a skill. We've hired people who've come from, parallel lines of work for other companies. We've hired people who have gone to school for it, and we've kind of honed them in on the skills we need them to really master. Yeah, again, I think we've always kind of led with we're trying to find the right person,
Okay,
and
so
skill set might be second. And we
Okay,
can
so
always,
you mentioned attitude. What kind of person are you looking for an employee?
I mean, we're a customer service company at the end of the day. If you boil it down, we need to be able to, meet a customer's needs, make sure they're satisfied, make sure they want to call us again. So someone who's personable, reliable, trustworthy, well-spoken, are some of the things that I look pretty highly for in an interview. Not saying that we don't care about the mechanical background or the mechanical skill set, but a lot of those skills can be taught, and I think a lot of personable skills are much more difficult to ingrain in someone's head if they don't kind of have them naturally.
Okay. So do you have any long-term employees?
Our longest employee has been there for 45 years. And then we've got a handful in their 30s, a handful in their 20s, quite a few in the high teens, and then
So
a
you
lot
pretty
in
much
between.
maintain your workforce most of the time.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned a fire, oil burning, or when did that happen?
I don't know the exact
January
year.
11th of 1960.
So
And what happened?
someone was trying to siphon off diesel out of our tanks. So they got the siphon going, something lit, and sure enough burned down the oil plant.
Okay, and rebuilt in the same spot?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, and then today, now you're located where?
Now we are located at 5609 49th Street. And then we've got our plant across the street as well, just kitty corner from our office, and that's our fueling plant. That's where our lubricant and our fuel oil division is out of.
So now you're pretty much in the same spot as opposed to before when you had oil at one location and a
Correct.
building at another.
Correct.
So have you expanded the size of the buildings?
Originally, when we were in that building, we were leasing out one side of the building to a flooring company. We've since absorbed that. Now we have the entire building. So we have our warehouse, which is going to store all of our equipment, our parts, our sheet metal fittings, and then the other side of the building is our metal fabrication shop.
So you fabricate some of the ductwork that you use?
Yeah, so new construction there's definitely some prefab ductwork that's made at manufacturers, and we just kind of snap it together. But all of our custom transitions, everything like that, all of our guys are custom fabricating. On replacement jobs in an existing customer's home, they go there, set the equipment, measure everything up, and then they come back to the shop and custom fabricate a plenum or a transition or.
Okay. And with your employees, do you get together with them after work? Do you have friends working there? Obviously, you have family working there, but you have friends within the company, and do you associate with them after work, or is it pretty much I go home, you go home kind of thing?
We definitely like to treat all of our employees like family. We usually do a big holiday party every year. We usually do a big picnic every summer where all of our employees, their kids, their spouses, their significant others get to come hang out. There's a lot of Fridays after work where you'll find everyone hanging out in the shop just talking an hour after their day has ended, and everyone's just become pretty close over the years.
Okay. Tell me about COVID. What happened to the company during that period of time? Did you obviously maintain your customers? Did you have to kind of cut back and be careful? What did the company do?
It was a challenge. So we were named, how do they technically describe it? An essential business.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have to cut any staff. We definitely didn't operate as the norm, but we were able to keep everyone on, keep everyone working. Thankfully, everyone still needs their furnace and their air conditioner regardless of COVID. Obviously, the procedures had to change.
How did you change those?
For our install department, we had the leads have helpers that help them every day, so we kind of had to keep those crews the same every day because we couldn't have one helper be with 3 different leads and take down 3 different crews. Our service techs, if they weren't in a customer's home servicing. They weren't all hanging out together because we couldn't have one employee take down an entire department. So as you can imagine, that would have been pretty catastrophic. So we staggered start times, we kept crews together, we just tried to keep everyone as separate as possible while being able to.
A lot of masks, a lot of hand sanitizer.
So other than the fact of just being protective
Mhm.
with your employees so they could work, company just functioned pretty much normally in terms of getting out there. Company financially didn't really change much.
No, I mean the demand was still there. You know, again, we were determined an essential business, I think, correctly. I mean, you're still going to be running your furnace, you're still going to be running your air conditioner, regardless of what's going on. You're going to need someone to be able to replace it and service it. So yeah, from a business demand standpoint, it didn't change. It's just how are we still going to deliver the service that we always had, introducing these new challenges. So.
Can you tell me about some of the technology changes that occurred in the company over time?
Sure.
Obviously, we went from from coal to oil to gas, but I mean, technology, how did that change?
Well, so as everyone I'm sure knows, government is always pushing to become more and more and more efficient. So obviously a coal burning piece of equipment is probably running at 40-50% efficient, so the vast majority of that heat is leaving the house through a flue pipe. Then it went to oil, which was about 60% efficient. Again, you're creating all this energy, but you're not turning it all back into heat in the house. Now we're running at furnaces that are 97, 98, 99% efficient. So, you know, and the way that they're achieving that is, I mean, every component under the sun is being tweaked, and I mean, you got control boards that have so many different resistors and circuits in them, whereas the old equipment was all hard relays, and you know, so it's becoming and just when you think you've figured out one system, a whole new system comes along and you get to relearn it. We're right in the middle of a major changeover with air conditioners and refrigerants. Again, the government mandated that they get more efficient, and they removed the existing refrigerant that is depleting the ozone.
Okay.
With that comes all new compressors and all new control boards and all new, and you know, it kind of just starts all over again. But yeah, it's an ever-changing industry.
So what have service techs needed to learn as this become the switches from switches and relays to computers within the furnace unit?
Yeah, I mean, really the changes have been on the electrical side, so they've really had to become comfortable with all the different electrical readings and electrical testings that need to be done on each piece of equipment. The good thing, our manufacturers and our distributors provide all sorts of opportunities for training. You know, just like our service techs have to, you know, learn, I have to relearn everything once a new system comes out so I can be there to aid our techs. But yeah, I mean, we have all sorts of online resources. We have hands-on training at our distributors and manufacturers. So there's a lot of information out there, and a lot of our partners are very willing to help us out and make sure we can get, you know, up to speed rather quickly.
How often are people trained?
It's kind of an
training?
ongoing.
Again, there's so much in the field. You can be doing HVAC for 25 years and you come in and it's a new system and it looks like it's all in Chinese to you. You'll never be done training in the HVAC field. You'll never know everything. If you think you know everything, you're lying to yourself. You know, being resourceful is always important because, again, you're going to come across something that you don't know. You need to know where to get the answer, who to talk to get the answer. But yeah, training is ongoing.
How about technology in your part of the company?
My dad custom wrote the program that we're still mostly using today. We kind of have a weird dynamic that we can't use a lot of prepackaged software because we have our HVAC division, which there's a lot of prepackaged software for, and then our LP and our lubricant division, which there's a lot of prepackaged software for, but they don't really talk to each other. So we're still pretty much using the program that my dad wrote, and now actually his mom is helping out as we transfer to a new software, also all custom written. But from a dispatching perspective, it used to be, hand a service tech their tickets in the morning and come back to the shop when you're done for the day. Obviously, that didn't really allow for adding calls throughout the day. Then it was picking up the phone and this is your next call, and then it was texting and here's your next call. And now all of our service techs actually have an app on their phone that they're able to see their calls lined up. They can see customer information. It connects to Google Maps so they can drive to the next location. So we've really made a lot of progress in that sense.
Okay. Well, how do you see the future?
It's always changing, so we just want to keep growing, keep servicing everyone, a lot of our new construction houses now are trying all sorts of crazy new HVAC options that really, there's in-floor heating and you can speak more to that, but.
Yeah, I mean, the need for heating and cooling, like I've said a number of times, is not going anywhere. It's all going to be, how do you adapt to the new systems? You can't be scared to try the new systems, because if you're, too intimidated by something new, it's going to pass you by. So yeah, I mean, there's been a big push for geothermal heat, where people are drilling, 200-foot holes in the ground to try and capture some energy that way. So the technologies are going to change. The systems are going to change. However, at the end of the day, we're still, going to provide a service to our customers, regardless if it's a brand new system in 20 years that we couldn't even imagine coming down the pipeline. But yeah, it's going to be up to us to figure it out and be able to explain it to our customers, and obviously be able to install it and service it for them.
Okay. What is the best part of your job?
I love how every day is a different day. You never walk in and my days never look the same. There might be something with an employee, there might be a new piece of equipment, there might be something with one of our vendors, every day is so different in our industry, and I like that it constantly challenges us and keeps us on our toes, keeps us thinking.
All right. Adam?
Kind of to piggyback off that, I wear a lot of different hats, and there's days where it drives me nuts. But when again, there's never a dull moment, because just as I think I'm overcoming this issue I had, 4 more issues came to me that I got to problem solve and figure out how to get done, whether it's with a customer, with an employee, with a, a situation, distributor, manufacturer. It's, I don't really know where my day is going to go when I show up in the morning. I just kind of roll with the punches as it comes in.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.